Alright everyone, how we doing? I mean, you may be wondering about this whole suit, you know. That is because I've been lucky enough to see Peter Kay live just the other day, and it was amazing. It was ridiculous, and the reason that I have this suit is because it's what Peter used to wear in his stand-up routine. So if I put my drink down, Peter Kay live, better late than never, which is not just another tour of like a comedian. This is the massive return, the resurgence of Peter Kay, who is just one of like my all-time icons in, you know, just a huge part of British culture. If you're American, this may seem very strange, but trust me, he was always on the TV, and it's just had a massive influence on me, hence all of this stuff. But in today's video, I sort of want to do a bit of a review of the show without spoiling it for anyone. So I'm going to just go through my amazing experience of the whole thing. I mean, it was near impossible to get tickets at all, and the tours are going all the way through to 2025 he's performing, which is insane. It shows the massive demand of the whole thing. So back in November, I think it was, Peter announced his return to stand-up and in general, you know, just on TV. And that was in like an ad break for I'm a Celebrity. I remember seeing it, and then my mates were sort of onto us, and I was onto them on the phone like, Peter Kay's back, should we try and get tickets? We're like, oh my god, we actually should. I was like, we definitely should. So there was a few of us, and I managed to claim tickets. We were doing that thing where we're all on our phones trying to get through, and it was just loading. I was like, I'm in. And I managed to get in, get the tickets. An amazing feeling. Then leading up to it, we started to develop ideas what we could do, sort of thing, to stand out and mark the occasion. So watching his old stand-up stuff, I was like, the purple shirt, I should get a purple shirt. So then my other mates agreed with that. So one of them got a purple shirt as well, and then we have the sort of blazer which completes the look, so we went like that. But one of the reasons that Peter Kay is like so significant to me is that back in college we actually recreated the famous Amarillo music video, which you'll probably all know, of Peter in the purple suit and Hawaiian jacket marching down a corridor. So we did that with one of my mates who, it was always a joke that he was sort of like Peter himself, and we sort of hatched this plan to get him to go in the purple suit, that we wanted to go for a really accurate look. So we spent ages trying to get this suit together, and we did, and it looked fantastic. It was brilliant. So it was like, right, there's us two like this, and we're going to be in the suits and everything, and it'll be amazing. But what happened is, the day before, I got a message that my mate had been hospitalised, and he's fine, but yeah, not good. So I had this suit, and it was like, I got him in Nana to like tailor it a bit, and we got him the perfect colours and orders and everything, and we were like, oh my god, we couldn't use it, it didn't fit any of us. This was a very last minute thing as well, we had it all planned out, and then we're like, Christ, what we're going to do? We're like, is he alive still? Who else could I need to think of someone quickly, and it was all just in shambles. As it turned out, my mother had tried to book Peter Kay the last time he did a tour, when he cancelled everything and disappeared. So I was like, right, mother, you wouldn't happen to want to come, so she bit me hand off. So it ended up being a class night out with the lads and me mother. So throughout the afternoon we ended up just going through some pubs in Newcastle, basically getting smashed. Thankfully I can remember most of it. But when we finally got there to the arena, I was struck by just how many people were there. Like, this was insane. I knew it was popular, and I just remember saying to me, mate, can you imagine, like, looking at all these crowds, it were just masses. Imagine if they were all coming to see you. That is mental. So we went in, and the first thing I saw was merchandise. So I'm like, might have to get some. First thing we saw was the tour program, which I'll show you now. Which is just here. There we go. And there's some lovely artwork on here, which is the only artwork for the tour. You see it on everything. Using actually an older picture of Peter himself. And yeah, here's the back of the tour program. And it's just got this lovely the starry sky atmosphere. I love the aesthetic of it. And the neon lights. But this program is amazing. If I quickly sort of run through it, because the show is just Peter, it's hard to describe. It's not just stand-up comedy. It is him. So in the program, it's just his work, everything that he's done, which spans from TV to stand-up and charity stuff and everything. But yeah, as I'm buying that, I noticed this big sign advertising a personally signed poster from Peter, and I'm like, oh, that might have to be bought. We were told to go over to another counter where you could apparently buy them, so I went over with my mate, and he was actually filming at the time, so I'll show you some of the footage. And I'm like, yeah, can I sort of get an autograph of Peter Kay? And this was like a sort of thing. Having just met Matt Smith and David Tennant recently and all that, this was very surreal, and it's something, once again, you can't come across. The only autographs or anything you can find are these old ones on eBay of like Phoenix Nights and stuff. So yeah, I wasn't missing this opportunity, and I was like, could I come back later, maybe get it at the end? And she was like, well, there's only, 5 left? I'm like, 5? So yeah, that might have been bought for a bit of money. So I've got it, I need to frame it. I'll put a picture on screen of the amazing message in it. I love it. And yes, you can see us getting the autograph, and it was amazing, totally worth it to me. That'll be one of my prized possessions. And then, this is on video too, but as we were walking away, this drunk guy comes up. He just sort of stumbles over with his bag. So I'm like a bit wary, and he says something like, mate, do you want this? I just sort of froze, to be honest. So I was like, what? And what he handed us was a VIP gift bag with loads of stuff in it. And a ticket for that costs like over £100. And I'm like, cheers? Yeah? I don't know. He just handed us it. I don't know if it's because I was dressed like him, or we had the camera out, or what. But I think it was just a genuine act of kindness. Or he'd committed a crime and was trying to get rid of evidence. But I'd like to believe the former. That would be nice. So yeah, I just have this bag. I'll show you it here. So I'll try not to rattle too much, but here is the bag, which has Peter Kay live on it as well. Pretty cool. And it has these placemats in it, which, once again, is that artwork. But that's so cool. Placemats is in stuff you just eat your food on, which is really bizarre. And if you go on the back, you've just got several very randomly selected pictures of Peter. There's various works. There's not any... It's weird, it's not like from Phoenix Nights and stuff. Just a few. There's one from Amarillo there, but a few sort of random things from advertisements, and yeah. But I love the artwork on this. I've got a limited edition Peter Kay placemats. Makes it feel quite special, really, and I would have never have gotten these. So thank you, random guy who gave us that. And the other thing was the VIP tag. So I can't think of why he'd give us it. Unfortunately, this didn't grant access to meet Peter or anything. It's literally just the better seats, and since I didn't have the seats, it wasn't of much benefit, but it's just really cool to have. So as we finally went into the arena, we got drinks and everything. The atmosphere was amazing. Peter Kay's kind of thing is the colour purple. He's always kind of had that, and there was purple lighting everywhere. And the music playing in the background was, I recognised some from Phoenix Nights, but he's always associated with good music, really. He's always had banging soundtracks in all of his shows, and the playlist that was on was all Peter Kay related songs. So if you've seen all of the stuff, you'd notice that, and it really cool, subtle thing that really added to it. And then finally, after sitting there waiting, they were very strict about video recording, understandably. So I've got photos of us and the stage before the show started, but once Peter was out, you'd literally get dragged out if you were videoing or anything. So Peter finally comes out, and it was just utterly surreal to see him there, to hear his voice and everything. And yeah, one of the first things you'll realise is that since he's disappeared, he's lost weight and looks different. It's weird. He's known for being a big guy, and when he came out, it's like Christ, which is really good. But on the promotional stuff and everything, these are older pictures of what he did look like. So the reveal that he's lost weight is almost a part of the show in a way, if that was intentional, but you cannot find proper pictures of him like in 2023. The only pictures you can find are the odd ones of the show that people have taken on like the screens, so they're not very good quality. But yeah, I think it's a good thing that you can't find any footage of this show online. Quite old-fashioned in a way, and I love that. You can imagine like it would come out on DVD or something back in the day. Might well do. Yeah, but when Peter's just there on the stage, I was just staring, just kind of in awe. You know, you take in everything that this man has done in his life and everything. It's incredibly significant. It's like, bloody hell. You know, at the minute I've been quite lucky, I feel, to have met some of my heroes. Just sitting there in the room and having them talk for like a couple hours feels very personal. It's as if you just walked into a pub or something and end up chatting away to him. That's the kind of guy he is. You know, relatable, casual. And people say, you know, what was the show? What does he do? It's hard to kind of pin down. It's like stand-up basically, but it's not just that. The show is Peter Kay. There isn't, you know, anyone else that can do it, because he's talking about his life and experience growing up in Bolton, all these other things that have happened, and then he has his own kind of jokes like garlic bread and these things that he is known for that he can play around with each time. But yeah, the stories and the jokes and music is just who Peter Kay is as a person projected into the audience. That's really it, to sum it up. I made that video, you might remember, on his shared universe of all the TV shows that he's done and how they're interconnected, and there's references and stuff. I noticed some references on the poster to odd things, could have meant nothing, and throughout the show, you know, he'd make references to some of his shows and old jokes and stuff like that. There's just a massive sense of like cohesiveness to the whole thing. Whatever Peter does, it kind of relates to the other thing. It's like, oh, remember that thing. So if you've seen any of Peter's other stand-up shows, which you really should, or just clips or anything, or on YouTube, there were elements of them that he used in his shows. He'd be going through a story or a joke or whatever, and he'll suddenly reference something from like one of his stand-up shows 20 years ago or something. And having fairly recently watched them, you know, I completely got the references and said, oh my god, he just referenced that thing from like that thing which was ages ago. It's a mix of nostalgia and just pure unfiltered joy and happiness and laughter. I just couldn't stop laughing. It's not like when you watch a movie and it's almost like you want to laugh. Recently just watching Marvel movies and it's like forced in joke after joke. This is like I could not stop laughing. Like if I wanted to, I just could not. Peter just has this thing about him where he can just smile and joke around and casually talk about stuff. You know, people are just drawn to that, evidently. It's unique. It's bizarre because sitting here now, this isn't a scripted video. I've sort of made some notes and I'm just going off that. And it's not easy, you know. Peter's spoken before about how he does his shows. Everything is planned out, all of the jokes and stuff. It just feels so natural, and it shouldn't be by all kind of laws. It's really hard to describe, that's the thing. I was like, can I do a video like this? Because even watching him on a screen is different to experiencing him in real life. Like just the whole vibe, atmosphere of that place was just wonderful. But he even caught us completely off guard, referencing stuff that I'm into and that, which is weird. He mentioned The Lion King at one point, and just hearing stuff like that, it's like, oh my god, he's on about that. And then he stops at one point and goes, I was staying in a hotel room and it were for, and he's thinking a bit. He goes, well, I were filming Doctor Who. I'm like, oh my god, and everyone just starts laughing. He obviously talked about the infamous Absorbaloff episode, which is apparently like the most regrettable part of his career, it's hilarious in itself. It was like, I were a big green blob and he said it were rubbish. That's just hilarious to me. And he's like, even Doctor Who fans said it were rubbish. And then he starts saying like garlic bread. You have all these iconic things and they always sort of overlap in some way. But yeah, garlic bread was a thing we used to say when I was little. It's weird. There was a story about how when he was doing that, and he was filming Doctor Who, so like 2005 or something, in the hotel he was staying, he found out Paddy McGuinness was next door. But Paddy McGuinness is, of course, Paddy from Max and Paddy. And it was just hilarious. So they had no idea that they were there, sort of thing. and they ended up next to each other, and he goes through the story of what happened. And stuff like that is utterly surreal. Like, everyone loves Max and Paddy and haven't seen them for years and years, because obviously they're good friends in real life, but just to hear a story about them pissing around in a hotel room is just hilarious, and, you know, really rewarding, I think, for the audience that hasn't seen them together in so long. The public, I think, have been deprived of Peter Kay for so many years, and, you know, his chemistry with Paddy McGuinness and all that, it just hasn't been seen, hasn't been on telly. And me personally, it's one of those things where you forget about it for a while, those blank years where nothing happens, and then you discover it again. You're like, oh my god, what happened to that? And this is what happened with the tour. I rediscovered Peter Kay, remembered how much I loved him, and then the tour was announced. It was crazy, and I've actually ended up being able to go, and all this stuff. It's insane. During the the intermittent break in the middle, one of my mates needed the toilet and I did as well. It was like a 15-minute break, so we just went quickly, and all these crowds, like, rah, as you'd imagine, trying to get the toilets and stuff. What happened was, I noticed there was some camera people there. You see where this is going. They were interviewing, there was some old ladies there talking about Peter Kay, so I'm like, this is my kind of thing. I'm gonna jump in here, and of course I've had a few, so I'm gonna get in here, and your mate's like, come on, we need to go to the toilet and stuff, and I'm like, wait, we you know, it could be on telly, this is telly. I sort of just walked in front of it and been like, alright, we alright to just sort of do this, and I can't remember much of it, but these interviewers start asking us about why I love Peter Kay. I'm like, that'll ding dang do for me. This is what I've been writing about for a while and presenting. I believe that asked, like, you know, just why do you love Peter Kay? And I start rambling on. I'm like, Peter Kay has been in my life since I was little and everything, and Phoenix Nights, Max and Paddy, I think he's an incredibly relatable guy, and all this. Basically, what I've probably already conveyed in this video. And it was great, to be honest. It was just surreal. So I'd done that, and they were like, thanks, and got me name and stuff. I don't know what it's going to be used for. Apparently marketing may or may not appear somewhere, if anyone sees it. The whole purple suit, it felt like a proper red carpet interview. But yeah, once again, I was feeling quite lucky with myself, as I've got this merchandise, I've landed an interview, and, you know, everything's going great. Another big part of the show, which I think kind of embodies Peter as a whole, again, is he talked about his nan having passed away during the sort of break where he disappeared. But yeah, I remember watching all of his stand-up tours. His nan was always in the crowd and stuff like that, with his mum as well. And so that was a bittersweet sort of thing. But she was 96, and it tells a story about how he smuggled her in to see the Queen once, and she was over the moon. You know, the heart of that, it's just really lovely. It's obviously, you know, no one wants to lose anyone. It's bloody horrible, probably the worst that it gets. And yet, Peter somehow, like, turned that into not only a lovely tribute to his nan, but he of course made a comedy as well. And I think she would have loved that, and everyone did. It was almost a goosebumps, like, bittersweet moment when all that stuff happened. It was half comedy, half tribute to his nan, and it was just a bit emotional. Yeah. But he did everything for her, and looking back on those videos, took her to his tours and round the world basically, when otherwise I think she would have just stayed in Bolton, and that's exactly like my nana. It's once again so relatable. It's like, I wish I could do that, you know? Sort of the dream, and he made it, which is, you know, she's bloody wonderful. So overall, the show has those musical elements that define Peter Kay, and it really emitted just a 2000s vibe. That nostalgia was off the charts. Just, he went on about these old adverts and obscure things. I must say, this one joke, he mentioned the Muppets. He said, what did Kermit the Frog say at Jim Henson's funeral? Nothing. I'm like, for Christ's sake. Like, that's so obscure, and like, I just burst out laughing because I'm like, friggin' hell, that's so me. Like, oh. You know, Peter's obviously older than me. There was some stuff predated what I remember, but a lot of it was just these random little things in life that you don't necessarily pay attention to, and he picks up on them. And that's, I think, what he does best. You might not even remember just old family things or whatever, and somehow everyone in the audience is like, oh my god, yeah, that's me sort of thing. And it's bloody brilliant how he does it. It really is. There was musical jingles from, early stuff, and it just takes you back to that time period, which is really what we need right now. My overall thoughts were, like, being there, you just forget about everything, like all your problems. And if Peter hadn't returned and he'd stayed away from the public eye, that wouldn't have happened. How many people's lives would be benefiting just by giving them a bit of comedy and a bit of fun and just good old fashioned Peter Kay? I just think now more than ever we need that, with bloody viruses and horrible wars and stuff. To me, it's probably just a biased view because I grew up then, but if you were to just go back to the 2000s, it seemed that everything was fine. It just does, and that's what it felt like on the night, seeing Peter Kay just there. It was a resounding, everything's fine. Christ, I'm getting all existential here, but we as people, what do we do in our day-to-day lives? Work. And it's all, the question of what is it all about? And I thought, this is what it's all about. Peter just somehow captures these odd, nostalgic, wonderful, obscure parts of your life that you would never have thought of. It makes them into these amazing jokes and all these stories and everything. I think everyone can relate to the stuff that he does. There's no one else like him. They never will be. He is one of those characters. There can never be another. So this is quite possibly the only chance I'll ever have to see him. And I'm just grateful for that, to have grown up with his stuff and then to be sort of rewarded for waiting by finally getting to see him, which is at a grand finale. I can only hope that his presence sort of returns to telly and stuff like that. Obviously it's an ever-changing world and I hate it. I hate all this streaming stuff, and that'd be a whole video. I just love the comfort of just old British telly, and that's what he loved, and that's what he kind of conveys to everyone else, and it just spreads this joy around. There's not a single, no one is the butt of a joke, and he's just so lovable. It reminds us of, my granddad was a big man and quite like a joker, and he didn't swear often, but if he ever did, he'd go through a joke and then say one of those words, and we'd burst out laughing, and it made everything funny because of that. Peter's very similar. There are people who go around just swearing left, right and centre. There's not a need for it. It's an accessory. But when it's used so effectively, sparingly, it's bloody hilarious. But this is one of those moments where I'm just grateful to be living in this time period where we got to see Peter Kay. It was just an amazing night. Everyone loves Peter Kay, with a lot of the things that I like. They're quite niche, and I can't explain why I like them, just, the stuff that I've covered on the channel. But they're quite geeky or whatever, and I've never set out to be that kind of person, really. Whether that be the Mario stuff or Doctor Who. But Peter Kay, I can't stress this enough, he appeals to everyone. You can talk openly to anyone about him and everyone knows him, hence why the tickets sold out. And it just felt so chill. There weren't these toxic online internet people or anything. It was just people. It was humanity just there. I'm getting quite deep here, but that was, what it was. And Peter Kay brought them all together and appealed to all of these people. It was a bloody wonderful show. If you've seen Peter Kay's stuff, it's like icing on the cake. I can only hope going forward that I think a return to TV, if he did another TV show, would be amazing. Just anything that man touches is brilliant. It becomes a Peter Kay thing. It's ironically the name of his show. I just want to see him, pop up on TV and stuff, and he was always just sort of there. Comic relief, children in need, all these iconic British things, he would usually be at the centre of them, kind of orchestrating all of this stuff. But that was my experience of Peter Kay live, better late than never, which I think I've said about everything that can be said. This is just one of those defining life moments, and I'm so happy that I was able to experience it. It's amazing that just one man has created all of this, and all he does is just walk out onto the stage and sort of chats for a bit, and there's amazing stunts at the end. I can't spoil it, but there's stuff and there's music and there's things going on, and at the centre of it, it's Peter Kay. He's the most multi-talented person I think I can think of, because he's just so good at everything that he does. But overall, I've just missed him, and it's bloody amazing to have him back. Better late than never. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more Peter Kay content. There's so much of his stuff that I think would be really good to talk about. It's really British and means a lot, and it's like from the heart kind of stuff. So thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time.